Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to Life on the Wrist. Hope you guys are doing well today. Continuing our auction themed videos and podcasts, we're going to be talking about Christie's rare watch auction that is going to be taking place on May the 10th. If you are not following our podcast, we did actually discuss some of these watches on our podcast that was released yesterday. So be sure to head over to any podcasting platform. You can check us out there. But what I'm going to be doing is going over 8 lots that I'm really excited about for the rare watch auctions from Christie's that's taking place on the 10th. We created a video where we went over the Phillips watch auction, the Geneva watch auction that is taking place on the 8th to 9th of May. And we went over some of our favorite lots, and so we're going to be continuing that sort of theme and going over the rare watch auction from Christie's. So this auction is going to be taking place in Geneva, and so on our podcast we went over I think 12 or 13 watches that we really enjoyed. I'm going to whittle that down to 8 because this is YouTube, so thought I would kind of bring it down a little bit. So I've kind of gone over the basics of the auction. Let's just jump straight into the first lot that I'm excited about, and that's actually lot number 1. This is a Patek Philippe reference 3800. This is a Nautilus that was manufactured in 2000. It's a stainless steel watch with sweeping center seconds hand. It's got a date complication at 3 o'clock, and I think what really stands out about this watch is the black dial and Roman numerals. It's a little bit of an offbeat Nautilus, so you're not going to see these very often. It is sort of in the modern era of things, and I think it's really good looking. And so I kind of like the fact that it was a different type of Nautilus. It also looks like the steel of the case has kind of an interesting finish towards the bottom of it. I'm always looking for things that make watches stand out a little bit different from the other references that have been produced of that similar watch, and I think this one might tell a story with that. So that is the first lot that I'm super excited about, lot number 1. The next lot I wanted to go to is actually a pocket watch. Oh, before I go into my favorite lot, this watch is estimated to go between 20 and 40,000 Swiss francs. I think we'll probably go for the upper end, or maybe break through that 40,000 Swiss franc line. So we can go into the second lot that I'm super excited about, and that is a pocket watch. This is lot number 15. It is a Audemars Piguet pink gold limited edition open face Quantieme Perpetual Calendar keyless lever watch with moon phase leap year indication, and it has a really cool Audemars Piguet chain on it. This is the reference 25728. It was manufactured in 1992. This is number 3 of 20. There are only 20 that were produced of this. This is a really beautiful piece. The complications obviously make it extremely desirable, but what's also really cool about this is that it has an octagonal pocket watch case shape, which obviously is reminiscent of the original Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. You can basically take the dial of a Royal Oak, rip it off of the case, and that's basically what you've got in this pocket watch. Obviously this has a couple more complications on it as well. I really love the hands. The blued hands look really beautiful on this, and the moon phase at 6 o'clock look even greater. The watch is estimated to go between 18 and 25,000 Swiss francs. Within the last couple of years, I think pocket watches have actually become a little bit more popular when it comes to collecting. We did a video about our pocket watches returning, and it seems like there's a lot of interest in that video recently. And so 18, 25,000 Swiss francs, I think it will probably go for more, but that's just my prediction. Moving on to the third watch. This is a personal favorite of mine, and I've got a couple personal favorites in these lineups of watches, and that is lot number 45. This is a Vacheron Constantin 18 karat pink gold Toledo from 2006, nicknamed the Chocolatone. We've done a whole video where we talk about the lineup of the Chocolatones, but this is the reference 47300 from Vacheron Constantin. It's a triple calendar wristwatch in this really beautiful cushion formed case, or little piece of chocolate case. It's a really beautiful watch. This was the Chocolatone, or the Toledo, was the first watch that I really fell in love with, and this is a modern rendition of the vintage version of this watch. I've done videos where I've talked about the Chocolatone, and the Vacheron Constantin video where I fell in love with the Toledo, so you can check those out. But it's triple calendar, so you've got a month and day of the week window closer to 6 o'clock and up above the where the hours and seconds, or where the hours and minutes hands join onto the dial of this watch, and then you have a date wheel that kind of goes around the outside, and you have a pointer for this. So a pointer date complication is pretty awesome. I love the steeped case that this has. You can really get a lot of texture on that, and the texture of the dial is also really interesting as well. It's estimated to go between 14 and 18,000 Swiss francs. I think it'll go for more. Obviously, this watch typically has a moon phase, which is why a lot of people really love this. But I do think it's a unique sort of Toledo, where it's not, it doesn't have the that complication. Moving forward, so this auction really had a great variety of kind of modern and vintage watches, which I thought was quite interesting. I'm going to go into something a little bit more vintage, and that is lot number 62. This is another pocket watch. This is a Patek Philippe reference 880-1. This watch was manufactured in 1974. This is an 18 karat gold open face minute repeating perpetual calendar with moon phase, 4-year cycle indication, 24-hour indication, and an equation of time complication. So I think on the surface, this is an extremely complicated pocket watch from an outstanding manufacturer that is Patek Philippe. What makes it even more special is that the dial of this pocket watch is signed by Bayer, which is a Zurich-based retailer who obviously sold this watch in 1974, or excuse me, in 1980. This watch was manufactured in 1974 and sold in 1980. This is an extremely well-preserved example of these complicated pocket watches that they have, and it's very, very rare. You're not going to find these very, very often with most of the watches that you're going to see here, as this auction is nicknamed the rare watches. What I really love about it is that it's double signed, all the complications that have on it, and I'm a sucker for a minute repeater, so that's always great. It's estimated to go between 75 and 110,000 Swiss francs. I think I'll go for the upper end of that, maybe break through it. The next lot is one of my personal favorites. What I really thought was great about this auction is that they didn't just focus on extremely rare, extremely expensive pieces. There were some relatively affordable vintage watches in the mix here. And that brings me to lot 83, which is a Jaeger LeCoultre 18 karat gold Memovox with date complication. This was produced around 1961, and for me, I've done plenty of videos on this topic. The Memovox, I think, is some of the best value you can possibly find in vintage watches. I've done a whole video, so you can check that out where we discuss this. But for me, I think the fact that you have this hammer complication inside of this watch, which basically is an alarm, that's a very difficult thing to find in a lot of watches, and I think it provides a lot of value for someone who's kind of getting into vintage watch collecting. It's a really great example. 18 karat gold. I think it's the caliber 825 automatic movement, 37 millimeters in diameter. This is like the most this is an opportunity for someone who's getting into vintage watches for sure. It's estimated to go between 1,800 and 3,500 Swiss francs. So the estimate is fairly affordable. I think it might go for a little bit more just because of the interest behind this watch. But I think if you are interested in vintage watches, you're getting into vintage watches, and you want an opportunity to participate in an auction and get experience in bidding on watches at a live auction, this is, I think, a perfect lot for you. I hope that there are some newer collectors who have taken my advice that I've said in the past, where I think part of the vintage watch journey is actually to go to auction and participate in something like this and bid on a watch. This is a perfect lot. So lot number 83, JLC Memovox. Moving forward to another favorite complication of mine, and that is the vintage chronographs. I'm going to be looking at lot number 112. This is a Patek Philippe 18 karat gold chronograph. This is the reference 130, an extremely desirable chronograph when it comes to vintage Patek collectors. From 1956, the watch itself, yellow gold reference 130s. I think there were approximately 850 of these made in yellow gold, so a rare reference and case material. There's obviously things that are more rare, but this is a really incredible example of this. What I did notice about this watch is the dial is in pristine condition, beautiful patina to it. The lugs look a little bit polished, not really sure if they are, but they look a little bit polished, not as crisp, but still this is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful example, especially with how clean the dial is. The applied hour markers also kind of take your breath away, so definitely a phenomenal watch. It's estimated to go between 30 and 50,000 Swiss francs. I think it'll break through. It's a 34 millimeter watch, so it's a little bit smaller on the wrist, but vintage watch collectors are probably going to be eyeing this lot quite closely, so pretty exciting. Moving forward to another vintage chronograph. This is from Vacheron Constantin. This is lot number 206. This is a stainless steel and 18 karat pink gold chronograph. This is the reference 4072. This was manufactured in 1940 and is a very different looking chronograph compared to the one that we just looked at. So as you can see, the lugs of this, the lugs in the case of this watch are in stainless steel, and then you have this really interesting pink gold sort of, if you want to call it, a bezel of this watch, as well as chronograph hands and crown. You can also see some pink gold hour markers and interesting tachometer register on this dial. This is an interesting watch. It's running off the caliber 492. It's a manual wind chronograph. This is an interesting watch. I'm not completely sold on like the pink gold stainless steel combination. It certainly stands out, not something that you see very often, but I'm not convinced that this is the I'm not convinced that I personally love it. I think it definitely has a place within vintage watch collecting though. Interesting, the 4072 was manufactured all the way from 1938 all the way into the 1970s, so it's a fairly well established reference from Vacheron Constantin. It's estimated to go between 28 and 46,000 Swiss francs. I think we'll probably go for somewhere within there, being a 35 millimeter sort of, you know, two-tone case. I think it'll be kind of an interesting sandwich case lot for the auction. And then the last thing I thought the last lot I'm going to be talking about today is lot number 210. This is another extremely rare watch. I mean, the auction is called Rare Watches. I don't know what else I would be thinking about, but this is a Patek Philippe reference of 1518. This one is in 18 karat pink gold. If you don't know what the 1518 is, it is a perpetual calendar chronograph with moon phase and tachometer dial. So what's really cool about the 1518 is it's obviously gotten a lot of press within the last couple of years. You know, stainless steel 1518s are very difficult to find, and this is a pink gold version of this watch. Not many of these were made. Only about 58 were made in pink gold, and so a very low quantity that was produced of this piece. The watch itself was manufactured in 1951. It was retailed by Serpico y Leona in Caracas, so you have a little bit of provenance there from being from that retailer. Interestingly enough, it actually doesn't have a signed dial, so it's not like that's sort of attached to it. Looking at the watch, I was really mesmerized by the case. What's interesting is sort of the outside bezel of this watch, outside kind of around the dial, has this really different gold hue to it, and I think it just has to do with the climate that the watch was in, but it's really kind of aged quite nicely. It is going to obviously stand out compared to other 1518s with this interesting case sort of hue to it. Another thing that I noticed about this watch is the dial isn't completely clean. So if you look sort of towards 6 o'clock and areas on this dial, you can see that there is some sort of it's not even patina, if you want to say it. There are markings on the dial that kind of detach from it. I thought this was interesting. Even if you look at the applied hour markers, they're not completely gold. They do have this sort of darker brown, blackish sort of age to it. So it's going to be, it's definitely a different 1518. Out of the 58 they were produced, it's probably going to look very, very different than the others. But I think there is a market for things that look quite different. The dial is going to be an interesting kind of see what collectors are going to think about that, but I think the case of this watch is what really makes it unique, which is why I included it in my list. It's estimated to go between 450,000 and 900,000 Swiss francs. I think that's probably right, but 1518s have gone for exorbitant amounts of money, and so that, you know, that might be the case. I think the markings on the dial that I mentioned might soften this estimate to be kind of quite accurate, so we'll have to see what happens. I'm not really sure what's going to happen with this one, but this is another lot that I'm going to be taking a look at. I hope you guys enjoyed looking at these lots from Christie's rare watches auction that's going to be taking place on May 10th. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about these lots. Also, let me know which lots in this auction you're super excited about. On our article, we'll put links to every single one of these lots that we spoke about, so be sure to check out our article on our website. If you haven't seen some of our other videos where we talk about auction news, the recent Watches and Wonders releases, everything from vintage to modern, we really cover a whole plethora of topics within watches, so if you haven't seen that, be sure to check those out. Let me know in the comments what you think about these lots. Also, if you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can join the Live Runners family, enjoy some more watch content, and share these videos with your friends who are interested in watches. Also, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button for us for the YouTube algorithm so that these watches can get to more collectors or watch enthusiasts who would like our videos, that would be great. And with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and until next time.